Guys, are you aware that MAGA voters voted for lower gas prices? They voted for cheaper groceries. They voted for a government that would finally put working Americans first. That was the promise. And now, over a year into Donald Trump's second term, a growing number of the very people who, cast those ballots are sitting at the kitchen tables staring at bills they cannot even cover, asking themselves one quite uncomfortable question. What happened? 14% of Trump voters now say they regret voting, casting their vote. And the number keeps climbing higher among Republicans who are never fully on board with the MAGA movement. This is not a story about, political opponents criticizing a president they never liked. This is a story about supporters, loyal, enthusiastic supporters who are handed a set of specific promises and are now watching those promises fail one by one in real time. Well, let's walk through exactly what was promised and exactly what was delivered.
I just want to say that if you voted for Trump, this is all your fault. 100%. All your fault. You didn't have to vote for the orange clown. The fact that we're going to war with Iran now and they just closed the Strait of Hormuz, which 20 to 30% of all the oil in the world travels through, you can believe that gas prices, as well as the price of everything else, is about to skyrocket. And if you voted for Trump, this is your fault.
Do you regret your vote right now?
Well, between him and her, I thought he was the better choice, but honestly, I miss my Uncle Joe. I was a nobody and I was balling then. Now, I couldn't even tell you, I couldn't even show you $5 in my pocket.
We spoke to Trump voters here in Florida who are ticked off about the fact that the gas prices in the state have gone up by an average of about 60 cents within just a week.
I would just wish he'd keep up on his campaign promise and say he was going to put it under $3. He'd end that war so fast, but here it is, 5 years later, helping his buddy out get his more money. And then never mind charging us Americans all sorts of money for fuel that you just stole from Venezuela.
And those gas prices are getting higher because of volatile oil prices due to the war in Iran, a war that these Trump voters tell us they hope wraps up quickly.
If I could, speak to the president, I'd just encourage him to finish up this war and get us back to a safe world.
He's saying about for our safety, leave somebody alone, they won't bother you.
Hopefully this conflict over there will end, it's just unfortunate.
The overall vibe here at the gas pump amongst these Trump voters is they feel like the economy is not going well right now.
At the moment, I'm really out of work.
My hope is that it's temporary and it doesn't last for too long, that oil prices come back down. That's my hope.
So now all of a sudden, all of these experts and CNBC analysts want to tell us that, Trump is raising the gas prices because of the attacks on Iran, cutting off the Straits of Hormuz so none of the ships could get through. Meanwhile, under Biden, we had higher gas prices than we do right now, and there was no war. Make it make sense.
Wow, Miss Kathy, this is embarrassing. Okay. Miss Kathy, you can't think of any wars that happened while Joe Biden was president? I'll give you a hint. It was a war that you guys complained about endlessly, even though Joe Biden had nothing to do with it starting. Nothing coming to mind? Let's take a look at these gas prices, Miss Kathy. You see where that peak is right there? Well, in February of 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine, and that threw a giant wrench into the global oil market. Now, on top of that, it was a supply and demand issue. Miss Kathy, do you remember when COVID happened and all the countries of the world shut down and everybody stopped driving to work? Well, during that time, the oil companies ramped down oil production because nobody was buying oil. Then fast forward, the vaccine comes out and all the countries of the world open back up and everybody starts driving to work again. And when that happened, the demand for oil skyrocketed. And as most of us learned as children, Miss Kathy, what happens when there's low supply and high demand? Yeah, prices go up. So COVID combined with Russia's war on Ukraine is why gasoline got so expensive in 2022. And at this point, Miss Kathy, both Trump and Caroline Leavitt have admitted that the reason gasoline jacked up in price the last few days is because of his war in Iran. It seems like you're the only person who doesn't understand that. So some advice, Miss Kathy, if you'd like to stop embarrassing yourself on here, perhaps stop yelling at experts and try listening to them. And then maybe one day you'll have a better understanding of the world that you live in, okay? All right, good luck.
He started this. He's the one who should be paying for it, but it doesn't come out of his pocket, it comes out of our pocket.
Surging gas prices are complicating things for the Trump administration that was already dealing with affordability issues. In just the last week, the price of a gallon of regular gas jumped by more than 30 cents. So now the administration is saying this is just short-term pain at the pump for long-term gain with Iran.
We are defanging Iran's abilities to threaten American troops in the areas, its allies, its neighbors, and global energy markets. So yes, you've got to go through short-term pain to solve a long-term problem.
We spoke to drivers passing through this New Jersey gas station to ask them if that pain is worth it.
I don't think it's worth it. Like, we're paying the price of the war.
If we have to suffer through a little bit of gas prices going up, then we have to suffer through it. And it's a small pain to take for the rest of the world.
Well, as a day-to-day working class man, it definitely has an impact on my family life, not being able to afford as much. I mean, I'm 25 years old and I can hardly afford to own a house.
No matter how drivers feel, according to Gas Buddy, the national average is expected to rise by another 10 cents in just a week. And in the next couple weeks, it could get up to $4 a gallon.
Well, Trump, I want to thank you for the high prices of gas. It's $4.19 in South Florida today. I'm in Delray right now, and it's $4.19 at this station. Gas has increased $1 a gallon or more, all because of this unnecessary war that you've gotten us into in Iran. And you don't even know why we're fighting. Once it's nuclear weapons, then it's regime change, then it's this, then it's that. I thought you destroyed all the nuclear weapons a year back in June. What happened to that? What happened to that story? You know, you tell us one story after another story after another story, and you don't even remember which story you've told us. You've told us so many times. I mean, really? We didn't vote for this. I didn't vote for you ever. And MAGA didn't vote for war either. And war is not helping anybody. But you did make the one comment today that the United States is the largest oil producer in the country, in the world, and that we're making money. Yeah, you and your oil buddies are making money. The billionaires are making money off the backs of the American people, just like your tariffs. You made money on that too. Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, and the Bernie Ehrlich brothers. You happy with this war and these gas prices? And this is just the beginning. It's not the end. Whatever Donald Trump tells you, it's not the end. Just watch.
$4.19 a gallon, Donald Trump. Thank you for the high prices of gas. $4.19, South Florida.
So Trump today was asked by a reporter in regards to the rising prices at the pump because of all of the situation in Iran. And verbatim, quote for quote, he said, if they rise, they rise. I don't care. Are you kidding me? For 4 long years, his supporters and him bitched at the gas prices non-stop. And now that they're going back up, MAGA is actually cheering it on. They love it because it's Daddy Trump. They don't give a Are you? Oh, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Now, I want us to start with energy costs because this is where the promises were the most specific and the gap between rhetoric and reality is the most stark. On the campaign trail, Trump did not speak in vague terms. He told voters his policies would get gasoline below $2 a gallon and cut energy prices in half within 12 months of taking office. That was the commitment. The reality, gas prices are not, have not dropped below $2 in any week since Trump returned to the White House. And with the Iran conflict now disrupting the global supply routes, the government's own Energy Information Administration projects that gas prices will not fall below $3 per gallon at any point through end of 2027. Not $2, not even close to $2, $3 as a best case scenario 2 years from now. Then there are groceries. Trump promised to bring them down on day one On day 365, food prices were still climbing, with beef up 16%, coffee up nearly 20% between January and December 2025. And electricity, the average American household's electricity bill rose by over 6% in 2025, more than double the rate of inflation, despite a campaign promise to slash energy cost in half. 3 promises, but 3 measurable failures. Now, to be fair, governing is complicated. No president delivers on every promise perfectly. That is a reality of the office, and it applies to every administration across the political spectrum. But what makes this moment different is the specificity of what was promised and the scale of what has gone wrong. Trump stood at his State of the Union address and declared the economy was roaring like never. Meanwhile, 2026 has kicked off with job losses, rising gasoline prices, and deepening uncertainty about America's economy failures. That is not a minor disconnect. That is a fundamental gap between the story being told from the podium and the reality being lived at the pump, the checkout line, and the doctor's office. Now, let's talk about immigration, because this was supposed to be the signature issue, the one where supporters felt most confident the promises would hold. The ramped up ICE raids were sold as fulfilling pledges of mass deportation targeting criminals. But the outcome has been far messier. Those operations swept up undocumented workers essential to rural economies, on small family farms and in dairy operations and meat packing facilities across California, Idaho, and Pennsylvania. Agricultural empowerment dropped by 155,000 workers between March and July of 2025. So the voters of rural America who backed up Trump the most, the farmers, the ranchers, the small business owners, are now facing labor shortages that are directly tied to policies they supported. That is a painful irony. And then there are the tariffs. Trump's tariffs were framed as tools to, make America great. But for rural communities, they drove up costs rather than lowering them. Small businesses faced an average of around $25,000 per month in additional costs from April through September 2025 alone. The manufacturing sector, the sector Trump promised would boom, shed workers every single month after Liberation Day. For more than 75,000 manufacturing jobs were lost since the trade war began. The promise was a manufacturing revival. The data shows a manufacturing retreat. Now, let's bring this back to the human dimension, because behind every statistic is a person. Half of America's 50% find it extremely concerning that the president promised to, look out for forgotten Americans, but has moved to cut food assistance and healthcare while passing tax cuts, weighted toward the wealthy. The promise was, I see you. You have been forgotten. I will fight for you. The policy reality, as many supporters now see it, is something quite different. Healthcare premiums for marketplace plans were projected to increase by over 100% for 2026 after the expiration of pandemic era subsidies the administration chose not to renew. Now, close to 70% of Americans now predict 2026 will be a year of economic difficulty. The number does not represent opposition voters. That is a broad national sentiment, and it includes millions of people who went to the ballot box with hope. When asked what drives their regret, Trump voters point consistently to the economy and broken promises as the primary factors. And critically, Americans report a 20-point deficit in attention on the issues that matter most to them: inflation, the economy, and healthcare. Instead, what they perceive is an administration consumed by immigration enforcement and foreign policy moves that were, never part of the core economic pitch. Immigration has actually fallen out of the top 5 issue for Americans. Yet, 69% believe the administration remains lesser focused on it. That is a 42 gap between what, voters care about and what they perceive their government to be prioritizing. That gap is where political trust goes to erode. Here's the broader point that this episode is really about. Promises in politics are not just rhetorical devices. They are contracts. They are the basis on which millions of people make one of the most consequential decisions available to them in a democracy, their vote. When those promises are specific, $2 gas, lower groceries on day one, no new wars, a manufacturing boom, they create a clear standard of accountability. And right now, measured against that standard, the gap between what was promised and what has been delivered is wide enough that even the most loyal supporters are beginning to feel it. Not all of them will say so publicly. Not all of them are ready to walk away, but the data is telling a story. And the voices coming out of Pennsylvania, Florida, and rural America are telling a story. And that story is worth paying attention to. Well, guys, I want you to drop your comments below. I need to hear what you think. Also, remember to subscribe, like, and share as well. And until next time, bye-bye.